Red Horse, man, took peace from the earth, man. You know, what can you do with that, man? That's why the white man, the so-called white man, has to go, man. He has to be eradicated, man. Okay, because this is all he brings, man. He brings destruction. Okay, anger and wrath. Okay, guys always destroying everything, man. Always, every day. Okay, wars, destroying the environment, destroying people. Okay, but you know his destruction is coming at hand. Okay, no one's gonna stop his destruction. Okay, right. It says here in the article, why then were atom bombs dropped on Japan? Okay, because obviously there wasn't no need for it. So why were they dropped then? Okay, and you know we're gonna get the proof that I was saying earlier. Okay. If dropping nuclear bombs was unnecessary to end the war or to save lives, why was the decision to drop them made? Especially over the objections of so many top military and political figures. One theory is that scientists like to play with their toys. Okay, on September 9th, on September 9th, 1945, Admiral William F. Halsey, commander of the Third Fleet, was publicly quoted extensively as stating that the atomic bomb was used because the scientists had a toy and they wanted to try it out. He further stated the first atomic bomb was an unnecessary experiment. It was a mistake to ever drop it. However, most of the Manhattan Project scientists who developed the atom bomb was opposed to using it on Japan. Albert Einstein, an important catalyst for the development of the atom bomb, but not directly connected with the Manhattan Project, said differently. A great majority of scientists were opposed to the sudden employment of the atom bomb. In Einstein's judgment, the dropping of the bomb was a political or diplomatic decision rather than a military or scientific decision. Indeed, some of the Manhattan Project scientists who wrote directly to the Secretary of Defense in 1945 to try to dissuade him from dropping the bomb. We read that these considerations may make the use of nuclear bombs for an early and unannounced attack against Japan inadvisable. If the United States would be the first to release this new means of indiscriminate destruction upon mankind, she would sacrifice public support throughout the world, precipitate the race of armaments, and prejudice the possibility of reaching an international agreement on future control of such weapons. Okay, well, here it is. You know, they people hate America, man, just because of the way they act, man. Okay, they started the arm race. Okay, Japan, although it's a current ally of America, man, really the deep sentiments there, man. They hate your fucking guts, man. And when the time is right, man, they will turn on you, man. Okay, because they have not forgotten the wickedness that you sent upon them, man. Okay, and the lies that you killed, the innocent, so-called innocent lives that you killed, man. Okay, they ain't forgot that. They mourn that every year. Okay, so they ain't forgotten, and they ain't gonna forget. When the time is right, man, and they see that you're on your way out, man. Okay, they're gonna attack you. They're gonna send missiles on you as well, man. Okay, well, these nations hate you, man. Okay, and now there is controls on such weapons, but who's controlling it? America, NATO. Okay, no one's put on America any fucking sanctions or conditions to nuclear weapons, and they're the only ones that ever used it. Because America make all the policies, NATO make all the policies, okay? Who should and should not have nuclear weapons, okay? Because apparently you deserve to have nuclear weapons, apparently, because you know how to use them best, or not to use them, as you make it out to be, that people shouldn't have to use their nuclear weapons. But here it is, you used your nuclear weapons for no damn reason, just to make a statement to kill people, man. Okay, that's fucked up. And release all that fucking radiation for generations to come, man. People coming out with fucking multiple limbs, being born inside out, and all that kind of fucking gross shit, man. You're responsible for all that. And you ain't learned from no damn mistakes, man. So you can't even say that you learned. Oh, we learned from our mistakes, man. You ain't learned a damn thing, man. You send your military over there into Iraq and Afghanistan and all that bullshit, and you use depleted uranium in your army, man. And you fucking poison your own damn soldiers, man, as well as the people you're firing it on, man. So you ain't done a damn fucking thing, man. You're still a devil, man. Okay, you're still a wicked fucking evil devil, man. And like I said, man, you need to fucking disappear, man. Okay, that's the only way this earth is gonna return to its harmonious condition, man. Okay, is if you are not here. Okay, and the Most High is gonna rectify that. Okay, he's gonna make such a thing come to pass. Okay. Right. Political and social problems, Manhattan engineering. Okay, whatever. The scientists questioned the ability of destroying Japanese cities with atomic bombs to bring surrender, when destroying Japanese cities with conventional bombs had not done so, and like some of the military officers quoted above, recommended a demonstration of the atomic bomb for Japan in the unpopulated area. Okay, it says here the real explanation. In the years since the 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan, a number of historians have suggested that the weapons had a too prolonged objective. It has been suggested that the second objective was to demonstrate the new weapon of mass destruction to the Soviet Union. By August 1945, relations between the Soviet Union and the United States had deteriorated badly, and Potsdam Conference between US President Harry Truman, Russian leader Joseph Stalin, and Winston Churchill, before being replaced by Clement Attlee, ended just 4 days before the bombing of Hiroshima. The meeting was marked by recriminations and suspicion between the Americans and Soviets. Russian armies were occupying most of Eastern Europe. Truman and many of his advisors hoped that the US atomic monopoly might offer diplomatic leverage with the Soviets. In this fashion, the dropping of the atomic bomb on Japan can be seen as the first shot of the Cold War. Okay? This is what the historians have concluded from the proof, the evidence that they have. Okay? And it makes fucking sense. Okay? To gain that monopoly, to gain that power. Okay? To make the nations afraid of America. Okay? Which continues today. Nations, up until recently, nations have been afraid of America, man. Okay? Because they don't want America to come upon them with their armories and that. Because they can't, these other nations wouldn't be able to handle that. Iran wouldn't have been able to handle it. Iraq couldn't handle that. Okay, but now these nations are building themselves up, man. Pakistan, Afghanistan, they got nuclear weapons and shit. Okay, China's got their nuclear weapons now. Russia, still got their nuclear weapons. Okay, they're building themselves up to be able to take on America, man. Okay, because America has the biggest military spending budget against the whole world. It had the largest spending on their military than the whole world put together. That's the world put together, man. That's how much they spend on their armaments and their weapons technology. Okay, but these nations are rising up, man. They're not as weak as they used to be, man, because they're sick and tired of America being that fucking bully. Okay, and America is done everything it can to maintain its status as the bully, man, as that dominant power. Okay, but it's coming to an end now. You guys in a recession. Your military spread thin. Okay, you are not. Your soldiers are ill trained. Okay, as the same thing has happened to Rome is going to happen to you, man. You're going to fall. Okay. It says here, the new scientists reported in 2005 the US decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 was meant to kickstart the Cold War, rather than end the Second World War, according to two nuclear historians who say they have new evidence backing the controversial theory. Okay, you're not about ending wars, man. You're about continuing wars. That's why we're starting wars with other nations all the time. Okay, causing a fission reaction in several kilograms of uranium and plutonium, killing over 200,000 people 60 years ago, was done more to impress the Soviet Union than to cow Japan. Okay, so 200,000 people you fucking killed, man. With them bombs, man. Okay, you really think they're gonna forget about that? Japan's got it in for you, man. You just don't know it yet. They say, and the U.S. president, and the U.S. president who took the decision, Harry Truman, was culpable. They added, he knew he was beginning the process of annihilation of the species, says Peter Kuzinik, director of Nuclear Studies Institute at American University in Washington. It was not just a war crime; it was a crime against humanity. Okay, and they've committed, like I said, they've committed many crimes against humanity, man. Slavery being the top one, man. What you put the Negroes through, and yeah, okay, and the Native Americans and the Hispanics, man. What you put them through, man, you got a lot of blood to pay for, man. Okay, you got a lot of crimes to pay for, and no one's bringing you to justice because you're the one. You're the only one that can bring power. They can bring anyone to justice because you're on in power seat. Okay, and you're not going to put yourself in a fucking in straits for that. Okay, that's why the Most High is going to have to do it. Okay, the only power that's stronger than thee. Okay, he's going to bring you to justice, man. You're going to be made to pay for the wickedness that you've done, man. Because no one else can make you do it. Says new studies of the US, Japanese and Soviet diplomatic archives suggest that Truman's main motive was to limit Soviet expansion in Asia. Kuznick claims Japan surrendered because the Soviet Union began an invasion a few days after the Hiroshima bombing, not because of the atomic bombs themselves, he says. According to an account by Walter Brown, assistant to the then US Secretary of State James Burns, Truman agreed at a meeting 3 days before the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima that Japan was looking for peace. Truman was told by his army generals Douglas MacArthur and Dwight Eisenhower and his naval chief of staff William Leahy that there was no military need to use the bomb. Impressing Russia was more important than ending the war in Japan, says Selden. So John Pilger points out the US Secretary of War Henry Stimson told President Truman he was fearful that the US Air Force would have Japan so bombed out that the new weapon would not be able to show its strength. He later admitted that no effort was made and none was seriously considered to achieve surrender, mainly in order not to have to use the bomb. Okay, so they had their ideas set on using that bomb the whole fucking time, man. Okay, the only worry was that if they bombed too much, that Japan out too much, man, it wasn't going to look as impressive, man. Okay, that is the fucking sign of a devil, man. Okay, his foreign policy colleagues were eager to browbeat the Russians with the bomb held rather ostentatiously on our hip. General Leslie Groves, director of the Manhattan Project that made the bomb, testified, "There was never any illusion on my part that Russia was our enemy and that the project was conducted on that basis." Okay, so the whole Manhattan Project was built against Russia, man. Okay, and that project really goes on today, man. That's why these Russians don't trust these fucking Americans, man. And they fucking shouldn't. Even though they're the same fucking people, they're both Edomites, they're both of Esau, they don't trust each other, man. Because there's internal fighting between Esau as well, man. The day after Hiroshima was obliterated, President Truman voiced his satisfaction with the overwhelming success of the experiment. You know. Okay, we're coming to the end of this article now. What's the time in here? Okay, yeah, we're going to end up soon. Okay. Alright, the article goes on to say, we'll give the last word to the University of Maryland Professor of Political Economy and former legislative director in the US House of Representatives and the US Senate and a special assistant in the Department of State. Though most Americans are unaware of the fact, increasing numbers of historians now recognize the United States did not need to use the atomic bomb to end the war against Japan in 1945. Moreover, this essential judgment was expressed by the vast majority of top American military leaders in all three services in the years after the war ended: Army, Navy, and Army Air Force. nor was this the judgment of liberals as it's sometimes thought today. In fact, leading conservatives were far more outspoken in challenging the decision as unjustified and immoral than American liberals in the years